Well, hello there. Welcome back to another episode of the Fit Female Society podcast. I'm your host, Valerie Rose, and in today's episode, we're going to be discussing building healthy relationships and how relationships are very important to your life and overall health and wellness. And I have a very special guest. Her name is Sonia, and she is a fellow Chingona Community member. It's a community that we are both a part of, so make sure to check it out. She is an executive in the telecom industry, and she is the owner of a mobile bar. So let's all welcome Sonia.
Hey.
Are you excited to be here,
I'm
Sonia?
happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you here. Sonia, share with us why you think relationships and having genuine connections are essential to like our overall life. What's your take on it?
Valerie, relationships are just everything. But before we get into it, I just want to say thank you for having me.
Of course.
I love how this happened for us. We met and oh my gosh, here we are.
I know. I'm super happy.
I also too want to just make note, let everybody know that this is something not rehearsed. This is total, from the hip, from life experience, everything.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no.
Yeah, you
just
let them know,
organic
so
conversation is going on here. So, anyways, relationships are just everything. Relationships in every aspect of your life, it's just the most important thing. That's in the end, we can't take anything with us, but it's all that's in our heart, in our soul. Good, bad, ugly, everything. And so, I just love I love relationships. I love bringing people together. I love being a part of community. And then I love my alone time too. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. I agree with everything that you said. And I love how you generalize relationships, meaning speaking about a relationship towards yourself, how you enjoy your personal space, relationship with like loved ones, friends, coworkers, because as you mentioned, relationships are connections that we have with people. So what would you say is the most important relationship of all out of loving yourself, friends, family, your life partner, coworkers? What's the most important relationship to have?
Spirituality aside, it's every time you look in the mirror because you can't get away from that oneself. And even for those that maybe are shy or introvert or recluse, you still find relationships as important. Maybe it's just that one. Like if you were dropped off in a desert island by yourself, just like that that movie with Tom Hanks, you're gonna find a ball and you're gonna name it Wilson, and you're gonna relationship with that volleyball. So relationship with yourself is superior, and then if you believe in something, a greater being, then you also tap into that. But I believe that's also something that's within. So
I absolutely love that. I'm so glad that you said that because I agree. I feel like the person that we should love first is ourselves, because then we're able to fill into others, give other people like good energy, give them our all. Because if we don't love ourselves, how are we going to love others, right? So what would you say are some good practices to help one look in the mirror and be happy with who they are and build that relationship with themselves and love themselves? Like, what are some tips that either work for you, that you've seen loved ones, coworkers, friends go through, that you're like, hey, you know what? This is a good way that they've built upon building that relationship with themselves.
Okay. So I think that, some people say they're morning people or they're not morning people, right? So whenever you start your day, that's, when you start your day. But hopefully you have a bed to sleep in, and your situation is that. But before you even hit the floor, really, before you even, put your feet down or whatever that is to get in front of that mirror, you just want to be able to bring your best self that day.
Yeah.
Like that day. I think anxiety, depression, those things come from people being too far off in the future, too far off in the past, and the present is that gift. And if you can kind of start the day with, dang, I get a new. Another thing, just because we're talking about the start of the day, whenever that is, or the end of the day, whenever that is for you. one thing that I practice is I make my bed every morning, almost 99% of the time.
Nice.
I
I feel
make
guilty.
it
I did
every
not make my
morning.
bed today.
Girl, the thing is that it's so true because it doesn't matter what's happening, whatever decisions, good, bad, I make throughout. When I come home, that bed is made and it's like I gotta snuggle right in.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I think it starts before you get to the mirror, but it's just being present on whatever that day.
That is awesome. So no, you're right. I agree. A lot of people are living in the future or worrying too much about their past and not really being mindful with the relationship that they have with themselves at the moment or with others. And that's what causes all of those negative feelings. Like you mentioned, the anxiety, being mad about life, being depressed because they're too worried about shit that has happened in the past and things that they are expecting to happen in the future. But we can have expectations of life and shit doesn't always turn out a certain way, you know? So how important would you say is having that relationship with yourself? Like, do you think if someone has a really good relationship with themselves that they're then going to choose to be in healthy relationships with like choosing a good partner or choosing good friends and just the environments that they put themselves in because of how much they love themselves?
Okay. Well, I think that maybe you have an advantage because you have good self-esteem, let's say.
Yeah.
But it doesn't guarantee that you're not going to pick the best partner, I think a lot of that comes back from childhood. So, no, it doesn't guarantee that.
Yeah.
Also, sometimes you can feel so secure or so strong or in such good relationship with yourself that now you're like, I can carry this relationship with this person, with this best friend, with this whatever.
Yeah.
I can carry, I'm enough for us. And so that's totally wrong. That's way off base. You can't do 110%. You can only do really your 100, but you should really be doing your 50 or whatever it is, whatever your agreement is in that relationship. I think nowadays, I mean, I have my 25-year-old son. He's going to be getting married next month.
That's awesome. Is he your only one?
I have two boys.
Okay.
19, and then my big boy, he's 25.
First one getting married. That must be so exciting.
It is. It's very exciting. And so anyways, but I just learned about what is it called? Oh, it's pre-marriage counseling. So in other words, when I was thinking about relationships, like I'm thinking about, okay, what is there out there to help people in relationships?
Right.
And it's in every form of relationship, so everybody knows about there's counseling. But usually that happens when there's an issue. So now you're going to counseling, which I've done, which is,
and that's totally okay because you're doing something to resolve something that might not even be an issue, but something that one or the other isn't content about. And you're making that esfuerzo, to be able to overcome all of that and work together.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think definitely trying to get the tools beforehand is really where it's at.
Yeah.
And it's really what's missing in our school system, in our household. There's no real book on how to, raise your kids. Like,
that's true.
There's no like little handbook, like, hey, and it's the same thing for relationships and connections. So it takes work, but I think it's smarter to try and do it at the front end. But
I agree.
Hey, I'm 50. I figured it out.
And you're looking real good, Sonia. Looking real good. I love everything that you're talking about. You mentioned tools, that we need these tools, and that they're really nice to have before getting into these relationships or learning them to better our relationships. What are those tools you talk about?
Oh man. I mean,
a few, whatever you think is good.
Definitely reading. Like, there isn't a subject out there that someone hasn't written about. And even though everything that happens in our life is very personal and is very to our environment and our situation and all that, but practically guaranteed someone else has gone through it. Right. So in my family structure, I'm the baby. So I feel like the babies are always learning from the people older, from their older siblings. So I'm like, I'm okay. Like, I want to learn, maybe try, maybe I don't want to go through that mistake. Let me try and learn, you know? So, knowledge is power. And so definitely reading, but definitely quiet time with yourself, journaling. And you don't have to get a fancy book. It could be like, you know what? I got here 10 minutes early. Let me take a pause and just get the back of a receipt and get some thoughts down.
Yeah.
Or notes on everybody's phone has the notebook.
Yeah,
note
that's
feature.
true.
But this is a dangerous thing. You grab your phone and it's like, oh, what's happening on the IG? Oh, what's happening? And it's like, no, I was just trying to write a note.
Yep, I love that.
So that's the thing. That's why I always have like a little
show
book.
show them your notepad. I love it because, like you said, then they're not being mindful when they're on the phone section of the notes, because especially if someone has notifications coming in, they're going to be dinging so much that you're not really focusing on the notes and completing the task at hand or journaling. You're seeing what's coming in, as you mentioned. So I love those tools because they're definitely beneficial to relationships and even to ourselves. So doing those activities and using those tools by ourselves or even with our partners.
Yeah.
And having that quiet time, be like, hey, you journal over there, I'll journal over here. And maybe we could come together and share some things or not. Now, you did mention your sons. So share with us the relationships that you value in your life and why.
Oh,
go as deep as you want, whether it's like, your partner.
To make me cry.
No, I'm okay. If you want to cry, it's okay. No. Solomon has some tissue somewhere.
Thank you. This is a great space too. Thank you for having us and letting me be here. The relationships that I value most, my most immediate, my husband, he definitely is someone that I look up to. Super proud of him and everything he does. My kids, sheesh, they teach me so much. And it's funny when I get to hear them talk about me, which is a rarity, but every now and then they'll just say something, Mom, this or that, a compliment. And I'm like, wow, like, thank you, that's bigger than $1 million,
Yep, I agree.
When I hear something. Yeah. So, definitely that. And then I do, because I'm in a household of men, even my dad, he's 86, he lives with us.
Okay.
So, I'm in a household of men, in the industry that I work in, same thing, all men, like 90, like 90%.
It's totally male dominated.
Yes. So I value my women time. I value my girl time, and
Chingona Community vibes.
Yep. That's right, So these kinds of conversations I don't always get to have because it is more women, based. I don't know. Like, we just want to talk. This is what I always say. Tell me. You leave two women in a room for 5 minutes. I got your kids. I know your parents. I know your biggest hurt and your biggest love.
Yep.
You leave men in a room for an hour. Maybe your favorite football team.
Is that true?
That's about as deep as it's not.
That's pretty true.
It's not anything really more. And that's not good or bad. That's just, we're just wired different, So
we're more on like the emotional side, right?
Yeah. My husband tells me, everybody doesn't have to be your best friend. I'm like, really?
It's because you're super nice and sweet. That's
really?
Right. You're like, okay.
Yeah.
And now that you're saying not everybody needs to be your best friend, do you have a lot of relationships where it's like quantity over quality, or do you have like your few quality friends that you value so much and they're more of like in your immediate circle as well? So now we talked about family.
Yeah.
Your husband, shout out to them. I know you love them so much. There you go. Hey, but now with your friends, how is that part of your life with the relationships with friends?
So I'll tell you, there definitely has been an evolution. I've always had a lot of female friends around me.
Mm-hmm.
I seek them out; they seek me out.
Yep.
That's all good.
Right.
But I mean, I got married at 17.
Oh, that's really young.
Yes.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yes. And my maid of honor, if I could have had two, I would have. Those two females, Jennifer Valdez, Esmeralda Howdy, those are my royal dogs forever.
Nice.
But I've had a lot of other female personalities. Good women come in, good women leave, and that's just all part of it. Now I do choose quality over quantity,
right.
And that's really for myself,
right?
Because now my energy is reserved for those that I want to share it with.
Right.
Granted, I'll be there for the people that
Mhm.
need me, but it also has to be fit in my world.
Yeah.
So yeah. So hopefully I answered your question.
Of course you did. I'm like, and you even gave me so much more. I love that you do value the quality over quantity, because having so many friends and being like the popular person or anything like that doesn't necessarily mean that all those people that they know and have are people that they can count on. A big thing that stood out to me, what you mentioned, was energy. I always say this, that people always cost time, money, and energy. So as you mentioned, you
Nice.
choose to keep these people around, and you choose like who you let enter in your life, because you think about it, you're like, okay, if I'm gonna go with this person, they're gonna cost me some time, money, or energy, or all three. And then you choose, like, is this something that I want to invest in, because you value, like their friendship, their advice, their
Mhm.
company, the things that you do. So would you agree that every relationship costs some sort of like time, money, energy, or all three?
Girl, you're so 100 right now. Yes, yes, and yes. The only thing that I would add is like there's seasons, and the season might be we are vibing, we are good, and then the season might be it's an eclipse. You're on that side of the moon, and I'm on
Yeah.
this side, and it's all good. That's one thing in relationships that I want to make note of
Yes.
is that things do come to an end, and that's just
And that's
part of
okay. Yeah.
and it's okay. And how about um just let it be what it is versus I think sometimes when relationships come to an end, I think a lot of us are guilty of having to have like that struggle, that fight, that granted those are also telltale signs of relationships, but also too it's like let me just walk out because it's time for me to go. Why the drama with it all,
Yeah.
so anyway.
That's so freaking powerful, because I think, as you mentioned, it's something that a lot of people do struggle with. It's like they don't learn to let go, whether it's because of the attachment they have with that person, the history they have with that person, or even the faith and hope that they think, oh, this person might change or might become something else that they want, but that person necessarily might not be ready for it.
Mm-hmm,
So I love that you really
mm-hmm,
mentioned that,
mm-hmm.
because that is totally true. And another thing you mentioned that stood out so much is when you know it's time to let it go and the seasons change, like just let it be. So in your experience, how have you noticed, like, you know what, it's time to drop this friend? Like, would you tell them like, hey, you know what, we're not vibing anymore. We're not like even texting, talking, nothing. We don't meet up. Do you think that's a reason to like cut someone off, or does it take inaction on their end of like disrespect or just neglect and not putting in that energy? Because I know I've experienced in the past, like friends where I feel like I'm giving so much energy. I'm the one who's like trying to make shit happen, schedule things, but then you don't get that from the other person. And you're kind of like, okay, like how long do I go with this until enough is enough? And I realize, like, you know what, clearly they don't want to hang out with me, or maybe they're going through stuff and they don't want to share. So in your experience, what have you noticed that it's kind of like time to cut someone off and just like let them be and go your separate ways?
Wow, that is such a great question.
You got all the good answers though. You got this.
There's no exact recipe for that, really. But I think when you start to feel neglected, when in when you take a time out to kind of review what that relationship has been, whether
Mhm.
it's a partner, a friendship, an employer, whatever if you have been giving your all, and then it's not that it's not compensated, but it's not noticed,
Mhm.
or it's taken for granted, or just all those things that really shouldn't be happening in like your sacred ground. Because the first
Yep.
of all, when you're in a relationship, there's trust,
Mhm.
there's security. I think that's one thing that we forget. It's like you have to feel secure to share yourself with that person,
Yep.
and free from judgment, um free from I mean, I think for me, I'm like this is what my husband told me. He's like,
tell me, what is your husband?
He's like,
what is he
he's
saying?
like, sometimes you have too high expectations of people, and I'm like, oh my God,
you know what? I agree with you too, because my partner has told me that too, and I was like, man, but I think it's because we give all this energy and we like give so much that sometimes I ain't gonna lie. I know I kind of feel like I expect that from people, but then that's where I check myself and I'm like, not everybody is us. And that's okay. Like your loved ones don't have to be like at the same energy. As long as it's mutual where, you both love each other, you respect each other, and you make that effort to be present with one another. So tell me more about what your husband says about your expectations.
Yeah. I don't know. I just, so sign, I think it was signs that when you're coming to an end. Is that what you were asking?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's see. So I think those things that I've said, but then I think you're gonna feel it. You're gonna have a clue, but that's when your heart self and your mind self, and
it's like an intuitive feeling.
Yes,
mm-hmm.
And I was this year I read Mel Robbins reinvent yourself or reinvent your world. Anyways,
okay.
So she really for me nailed down the mind, heart, and gut connection, which I have read before, but things come on the time when you're ready for it, or like I'm not a genius. I need to hear things multiple times, so I got it this time, and the interesting thing was that, well, first of all, the lining of your brain is the same as the lining of your gut.
Ooh, I did not even know this.
And I'm like, that just bypassed my heart. Hold on.
You're like, it literally connected right now.
So, but you just kind of got to feel those things too, And I think if you ask yourself, like, when was the last time that my gut was wrong? When was the last time that my gut was wrong? And I think for a lot of us, that number is minute. More often or not, we're like, relax. Mm-hmm. And then we go pick another route. Yep. And then we're like,
even though you're like, damn, I felt that, but I chose to do differently.
Yes. And that came from up here.
And that's that gut feeling that we talk about, right? When they're like, just go with what your gut says type of thing, or go with what your intuition is saying. Ooh, I love that. You're feeling like all the goodness. Thank you so much. That book, you mentioned that was like the aha moment where you're like, okay, I've learned so much about that. But then once reading that book, you're like, oh, you know what? Now I actually get it and I understand it. And there is the amazing book, Reinvent.
Oh, good job. Yeah, that's
awesome.
It. Reinvent Your Life with Mel Robbins.
Now everyone knows what book it is so that you can check it out, because if it changed Sonia's life and made her have an awesome aha moment, you can have yours too. And that's the power of reading. You see how you tapped into a personal development book to either reinvent yourself or discover more about yourself. And then now you're applying that practice to your daily life, I'm sure now, when you're like, I need to go with my gut feeling, because there's been times where you said in life, I'm sure all of us have that feeling, like intuitively, we feel it in the gut, but we still choose to do otherwise. And then afterwards we're like, damn it, I should have like followed my gut and see what would have happened then and there. Now, since we're with the romantic relationship.
Wait, can I mention another book?
Of course, yes. Okay, go ahead. Mention
because that's so awesome that he can pull it up on the spot. Okay. Yeah. So real quick,
that's the first time he does that. I'm like, yes.
Yeah, okay, I've got another one for you. It's my next read. It's by Bozoma St. John. It's called Urgent Life, or Your Urgent Life.
Urgent Life by who?
Bozoma St. John.
Ooh, that's
so this is a thing. She's from Ghana. She's freaking amazing. She was like CMO for Pepsi. Well, I better not start quoting, because if I say it all wrong, it's all recorded. But anyways, like, she's just a badass lady.
It's all good.
So, but for tools, always find workshops. So I did a workshop with her 2 years ago, and it's called You Are a Badass. Yes.
Nice. Ooh, I even love the heart and stuff. It's beautiful.
Yes. This is the one I want to read next. But I did her workshop 2 years ago, and it was pretty freaking phenomenal. Nice. So you gotta do those things,
do those things for yourself. You see, that's how that you build upon that relationship with yourself, mindset, security, overall health and wellness, and then you can share it with others. And look at you now sharing these books over here in Solomon.
I'm a little
helping us promote it.
I'm a little billboard.
Hey, I love that.
I see a movie, I tell everybody about it. If I like that, I do. But when it goes the other way, not so much.
Yeah, especially if it's impactful. You see, it's like this is good information for people to know. What I love about the heart is since it's like in liquid formation, it kind of shows you like the fluidity of love, loving yourself, heart. It's really nice. I love it.
Yeah.
It like expresses change in a way too, you know? So that's your next read. You haven't read it just yet.
This is my next one. Yeah.
Ooh, okay, well, next time I have you on the podcast, you're going to have to tell us all about that book.
Sure.
I love how you bring up your husband so much. I can tell you absolutely love him. What are some tips that you would provide for people on nurturing their romantic relationships?
Ooh, I love that. Ooh, Sonia Star to the mic, please.
Sonia Star. That's for
you want to tell the story? Okay.
Wait, what story?
Oh,
the one that I mentioned.
Yes.
Okay, everyone. So I was telling my partner, love you, babe, Joe. Shout out to you. I was telling him, hey, you know what? I'm going to have a podcast. The next recording is going to be with a fellow Chingona Community member. She's super awesome. And I was like, her name is Sonia Star. And he was like, wait, what? Are you going to have a porn star on your podcast? And I was like, no, she's not a porn star. But in my mind, after I said it, I'm like, I swear he's going to say something about it. But I was like, I'm going to shut up. That was a gut feeling what you're talking about. I was like, my gut tells me he's about to say something. But he was like, is she a porn star? And I'm like, no, she's not a porn star. I was like, this is what she's on. And I'm like, and even if she was, it's okay. There ain't nothing wrong with that.
Oh, good.
So that was a little insider, you guys. And Sonia's like, are you going to tell the story or am I?
Well, okay. So remember when you mentioned it like before we started recording?
Yeah.
I was like, we're gonna bring that up. So let's not get into the topics because
you can bring it up right now if you want.
We're in it. We are in it.
Sonia Star is a relationship you have with yourself.
Physical touch is so important. It is so important, and I read in another book, your spirit gets there before you do. That's a vibration. That's like your whole and yes, I believe that we are spiritual beings, but our physical body is to not be neglected. It is to not be neglected. And so, sexual contact is just freaking important. It is like top, depending on, where you are, because there's, 7 love languages. Some people I like gifts. Some people like physical touch. Some people
I love it. Keep going.
Some people like words of affirmation, like all that, know. And you can be like a 1 and a 3 here and whatever. But that physical touch is very important, typically to the masculine, especially. So, yes, I like to get busy.
Not dang, girl. You're right. That all of that stuff is super important. And aside from like the physical, the lovely gifts, it's awesome when your partner gives you a gift because they like know you and know what you want, or not even necessarily know what you want, but they know your likings, and then you get like a random little cute gift on your guys' anniversary, birthday, Christmas, stuff like that. So that's always nice because it's like another source of reaffirming, like, hey, this is what my lovely Sonia Star likes, So what would you say are some activities that people can do in relationships aside from like the awesome like physical touch? Because you mentioned sexual. Yes, having sex is obviously a very healthy practice. Whether someone is single, if y'all single and having sex, use protection. Be careful who you're with. And it can be meaningful as well. But being in a relationship, it's even like more meaningful because you have like that bond with that person, the love. And as you mentioned, it's one of the 7 love languages that I didn't even know that there was 7 love languages. Did you read this from a book?
Yeah, that's a book. Purple cover. He's going to search it right now.
Right? He's like, hold on, let me go over there and put it up there.
Okay. So what was I going to say?
Activities that you can do with your partner, aside from like the sexual and physical touch that are building moments to the relationship.
All right. I just remembered what I wanted to say.
Tell me.
Real quick.
Of course.
Because, even though I love gifts, I also buy myself gifts, and I buy myself flowers. I love flowers. I know some women don't like, or some men, whatever, they don't like flowers. I feel like maybe when I was younger, I could have been on that team. I wasn't really like I remember I used to go across the street to the retired school teacher and I was like 7, and she would have me, work in her garden, and
Oh,
I'm
that's
like, I could see her
cute.
little wrinkly fingers,
Oh, so
and
detailed.
and yes, because she was like the oldest person I ever knew, and I never met any of my grandmas.
Okay.
I met one grandpa, never met any of the grandmas. And so
Okay.
I just felt that from her, Mrs. Johnson, R.I.P.
Aw.
And so she would she would tell me like, the thorns, you got to remove them and all this. But I love flowers now. I freaking love flowers. And I'll buy myself flowers, and I'll treat them and love them just the same as if someone else bought them for me. So you also want to do that for yourself.
Of
Right?
course.
You want
Yep,
to
I
do that for
agree.
yourself. But so some other things that I think that help to set that that togetherness outside of having sex is I like going on long drives. I love to go on a long drive with my man.
That's something my daughter loves to do. She's always like, Mom,
Yeah.
let's take like a little road trip. And a road trip to her is like from Orange County to LA.
It-
I'm like, I gotta take you somewhere else. Mom. She's on the other side.
So cute.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's when you get that undivided attention if you put the phone away. You
Mhm.
put the phone away. But yeah, you get conversation, or I love to hold hands when he's driving. When I'm driving, I'm like, let me do my thing.
You're like, hold on, I gotta
But
get the
you're
hands on the
driving,
wheel.
give me your hand. So I love long drives. I mean, having meals with your spouse or your partner, whoever, is very important, but that is something that could easily be taken for granted. And then that's something that can also be very expensive if you need to go to freaking Tao, and if you need to be all crazy about it. So I don't think it needs to be.
I'm like,
that.
what's Tao? Dang,
Yeah.
that sounds like a
It's like,
bougie restaurant. Where are you
exactly.
be,
That's what
Sonia?
no, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Mhm.
it doesn't have to be
Yep.
that, So, but meals are important.
Right.
Taking time to have meals together and
Mhm.
sit down. So, yeah. I invite my spouse to the gym with me all the time, but
Mhm.
it's not really his thing. He did go with me, I think, last Saturday.
Oh, that's
But
nice.
he goes with me like 2-3 times a year.
Hey, at least he
We're on
tries.
different things. He does, yeah.
Does he like any sort of physical activity aside from like the gym? Like, does he have his own things? I know like my partner, he does enjoy like the weightlifting, but he's more of like a mountain biker.
Oh,
Mhm.
look at that.
Yeah.
Cool.
I haven't gone with him.
Exciting.
I'm still waiting to go. Yep.
Oh.
I was like, I know that's gonna kill me because it's more like cardio based. I'm like, I don't really cycle.
But he
too much.
hasn't invited you, or you haven't said, I want to go?
So, okay, he's invited me and I said I wanted to go, but here's the thing. So he has 2 bikes. One is a road bike, the other one's a mountain bike. I didn't even know how expensive these damn bikes are. They're like 5,000, some of them even like 30,000. So he's like, "Okay, before I get you one, like, do you really want to do it?" And I was like, "Yes, I really want to do it." And now he's just like in the process of looking one up online and trying to give me like a little use one, because he's like, you're probably not going to use it so much. It'll be like when we're together, like on the weekends type of thing. But that's definitely like his form of like physical activity. So I'm like, I'm curious if your husband likes to like walk, do something else aside from hitting the gym.
He goes to the gym every day, but he loves racquetball. I mean, now we're both 50, but he loved racquetball when he was 17 and 15 and 16. So he's been a racquetball player for like many, many years.
Nice.
I hear he's really good, but I haven't watched him play really.
What?
I know. I was like, do a tournament or something, then maybe I'll go. But I'm also finding that I'm not liking the sport because people be getting hurt in the racquetball court. Like,
with the balls hitting them and stuff.
and then rackets. So I'm like, stop with that sport. But anyways, he loves racquetball. So that's his thing. He used to bike. He has a road bike, expensive road bike, and he's done like 100-mile ride to San Diego or whatever.
Like,
he does stuff like
that is a
crazy
lot.
stuff like that. Like, stop it. Yeah. But I want to go hiking with you.
I know we do need to go hiking for sure.
We need to coordinate that.
And I'm like, even if it's like not like in the group, I'm like something that like works for both of us too. I'm like, we can definitely go on a hike. I'm like, shoot, we're gonna have like our own little conversation podcast during the hike. We definitely have to. That's like something that needs to get done for sure soon too. So we'll definitely do that because I love conversating with you. Yeah, I love your presence. Your energy is so amazing. I'm like,
ditto.
Thank you. I'm like, ever since I met you, I feel like all the members of the Chingona community that I've come across are all super amazing. I know I've connected like very well with Roz, but I feel like I've connected so much with you because of your way of being a lot. You know, like you're super bubbly. You're like a lot.
Well, my availability, girl, Roz she's super crazy. And I have a crazy schedule too.
Yeah, you're super busy. Yeah, you are. Literally, I'm like, Sonia, just a reminder that we're going to get together. And I was like, I know she got this. Like, she's busy and stuff. No need to be sorry. I feel like I'm just always that person. Like, hey, little friendly reminder. Like,
no, but you know what?
Weeks we're getting together. You know,
you're so right on. You're so right on. Exactly the way you brought this. Like, very professional.
Thanks.
All those reminders are required. Not for me, because I know usually when I say I'm going to do something, thank God I do it.
Nice. But stick to your word.
But some people they need that. So thank you, and don't change a thing, girl.
Awesome. Keep thank you. Right back at you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Another thing you mentioned about your when you had asked me, you're like, well, does your partner not invite you, or do you not ask? Would you say it's very healthy for us to like ask our partner, like schedule things and not be like mind readers? Because I know sometimes like some women get upset and they're like, look, he's not taking me out to do this or not getting me this. But then again, when you mention that, I'm like, she brings up a good point, because sometimes whether it's a man or a woman, they lack to like have that communication, which is freaking key in every relationship.
Well, I proposed to my husband, so I'm not, I am not like, I'm going to ask. You know?
Okay, you have to share this experience with me. I'm like, okay, that is very rare, and there's nothing wrong with that. That is freaking cool. How did that proposal go?
Well, he's going to be like, it was more like an ultimatum, but no. No. I mean, mind you, we were 17.
Yeah.
He had just enlisted for the Air Force, so he was ready to go. Well, actually, he was gone. And it was over the phone, and he was like, I'm getting my orders. I'm going to be leaving. Do you want to come with me? I will get you an apartment. I'll live on base. You can be in the apartment, and we can still be together, and we can go, travel the world.
And would that apartment like be on the base or just near the base?
Well, I'm trying to quote like the conversation 32 years ago almost.
Okay.
But he said, I'll live on base, you'll live off base, I'll pay for your apartment, you can go to school, like that. So he had like, and that all sounded like, ooh, good. But I was on the phone and I was like, why don't we just get married?
And what did he say?
Hey, you got to be the closer. You got to be like person with the last word.
That is so salesy in you.
It is. That's why all that follow-up is good. So I'm like, yeah, why don't we just get married? I'm not going to follow you all over the earth just to be your side thing. I'm 17, but
You're like, I'm trying to be the wife for it, baby.
Like, and that is so me. Like, I like to check the box, like, done. Like the podcast. I'm doing a podcast in 2024.
Yeah.
Someone's going to ask me. I'm going to hit up somebody. Like, it's going to.
And I'm glad you like told me. So like, oh, she's like the perfect person. And then once you were like, I love to share like about relationships, self-love, because of all the experience you just have in life, your lovely energy. And I'm like, yes. And I had it on my to-do list. I'm like, I should have brought my planner, but it said, look for a guest for the April podcast. And then you had to come to me. I'm like, yes, universe. I'm like, you brought her to me. I'm like, the perfect person. Because I had ran out of guests already. I'm like, the first guest I had on, she's a friend and a coworker of mine. And then the second person was my best friend. And then third person was another one of my good friends. And I'm like, fuck, I don't have anyone else that I could bring on, especially since the podcast is more like women empowerment, fitness, nutrition, wellness. And I'm like, you're perfect for it, because I know you being a part of the Chingona community, you're all about women empowerment. And I was like, I know there's so much more that I get to learn more about. You know, even you being here, I've learned so much more about you. And I am super grateful to have you here in my presence, because you're so amazing, girl.
Back at you.
Everything that you're sharing.
Back at you. No, back
Thanks.
at you. Yeah. So I said, why don't we get married? And there was silence on the phone, because it was over the phone.
Yep. He's like, I gotta think about it.
Okay, yeah, okay, let's do it. So that was like, he had just left. And then it was like 2 months later, boot camp, like 3 months. Then he was coming home in December. I was like, okay, I'll plan the wedding. Okay, bye. Boop, plan the wedding.
Wow.
Like, will this guy show up? Yeah, he did.
Hey, did you get on your knees and everything? And here's like,
Nah.
Papacito, here's
Well,
something.
okay. So then when we did do like a little like engagement thing after at his mom's house, but he didn't even ask me. He didn't even ask me. You know, we had all like our high school friends. Like we're from La Puente in the house.
Nice.
And like all that crew, everyone is pretty much still tight. Everyone is still, even though some people have moved out of La Puente, like those ties are deep. And I just love that. And all of them were there at our, of course, we were like 17 getting married.
Yeah, those are like awesome memories, that you reflect on awesome memories. And then a very important milestone in your life. Like, shit, you're getting married, and you're the one to take the initiative and propose. I'm like, yeah, I'm about to do the same thing. I just
do it. Why wait? No one's promised tomorrow. Time is like, you cannot get that back. So, I've just been an advocate. I lost my brother when I was really young. So I've just been very like, I want to do this and this and this. And that was, I want to get married. I want to, go to college, have a career, I had it all already. And so my husband was, I loved him and I love him, but he was also like, your part, check, next, so I don't know.
Thanks for sharing that.
Here.
I'm like, sorry for your loss. I'm sure it's been like quite some time and you found like your habits to like be able to like cope with it, and I'm sure you still have like all those beautiful memories, so thank you so much for sharing that. I appreciate it. And even all the stuff that you're sharing with your husband and family and friends, now with your children, how do you build upon that relationship with them, especially them being adults? Like, I know I have my little one over there and she's still a teen, so I'm like, she's still like living with me and whatnot, and she's at the age where I can still force her to do things with me until she turns 18. And, they're like, they go off and do their own thing. So how do you navigate continuing to build your relationship with your children?
Well, first off, we have our little family text. I think everybody probably nowadays has some kind of, but keep it like where it's just you guys, you know? And then sometimes it's a ghost town on there because I'm like the only one saying this or putting, a little gift or whatever. Yeah, like, am I gonna get some love? I'm dealing with guys here, like, come on.
Yeah. But that's where that high expectation comes. Yeah. You're like, I give you guys all this love, kids, and husband, and you're like, where's the love at? I know how that feels. Sometimes I'll send my daughter text messages, and I swear my phone is like all messages from me and barely any from her. I'm like, I feel like I'm talking to myself.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. But I don't know. I just,
so they post your son a lot. Like, you'll post him on the story, like you're out doing stuff with him, and I'm like, that's really great. So what is it?
That's because he's here right now. So
so he doesn't live here in California?
Okay, so when he graduated high school, which was in 2022, this is my baby, he went up north, to college.
Okay.
He was there a year. Then he came home. So he's been home for a little while. Well, actually, from Monterey, he went to Arizona, and he was doing like a baseball program there. He's my baseball guy, and so he's home right now. But he hasn't told anybody. He's going to be leaving again. He's going to another college on the East Coast.
Ooh, that's exciting.
I'm like, when is this going to air?
It'll air like in a week and a half, Solomon.
I think we're safe. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So anyway, so that's why, like, oh my God, I got right now. You're just gonna see him. My oldest, he's in Wisconsin, like an hour outside of Chicago.
Okay.
And he has his life there. They're getting married, but they should be back in about a year and a half. So anyway, so I'll go visit when I can. Send love, send money, send money and love. Back like all that. It's just the way of the world. But we were going to go to dinner, and I said, why don't we go to a baseball game? It's opening days for the Quakes. Like, let's go do that. Because it's just something that happens when you're in the seat. Yeah. You have the game going. So anyways,
I love that.
I love all that.
You do a lot of it.
I
like
love all that time.
Trying to spend time with them, give money. Because even though like we know that there's other things more valuable than money, like that helps them. And I'm sure they appreciate it. Like whatever it is that you give them, like helps with the little cafecito, some
Mhm.
books, anything
Mhm.
else, a bill,
Mhm.
or just something for them to treat themselves. So I
Mhm.
love that you do that because I'm always trying to do that with my daughter too. Like give her a little money here and there, teach her about life, just do activities with them and hold on to those memories. Because once
Yeah.
they grow up, I feel like that's when they start to like get away from us, like little by little,
Yeah.
because of like the things that you've mentioned, school, work, marriage, and they're just not around as much as when they were little kids. Wouldn't you agree?
Mhm. Mhm. And that's another thing, Val, your
Tell me.
relationship with money.
Yeah.
That's big too. That's something that also gets rooted from when you're a kid.
Yeah.
And it's most of us have to like break those chains, because
That
most
is
of
so
us
true.
we're not set on the right path, to be financially savvy. Most of
Yeah,
us
that's true.
what our parents knew. And then sometimes like parents didn't even transfer knowledge,
Because
just
they didn't even have it like themselves, or they weren't taught
yeah,
it. 'Cause I
or they
know,
were too
yeah.
busy working to
Yeah.
tell us, "I'm working 2, 3 jobs, but this is why," because they
Yeah.
were at work doing the work,
I think as kids, we
you
just think,
know?
oh, they're out working and they're away from us, but not
Yeah.
really understanding like they're working because they need the money to
Yeah, the
provide for
roof
us.
or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, like, just that simple conversation. So that is your relationship with that is huge too,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it
Big
requires
time.
attention, and
Yeah.
there's classes and books and all of that.
That is so true, and this is where you have to, like, really teach yourself because you're totally right. I know I come from a family that, um, not not from money, not the poorest, but just, like, right in the middle, and I didn't, learn a lot about finances until I got older, like, learning, like, what is credit? Why do I need to have a credit score that's high? Because it's gonna help me with interest, it's gonna help me with even getting an apartment, a car, savings, and just managing your money because you can always work with what you have by like just being disciplined, paying the bills, setting something aside for like a savings, and then using money to like tap into your like personal gustos, and treating
Mhm,
yourself like
mhm,
those flowers
mhm,
and all of that stuff. So I
mhm.
love that you brought that up because that relationship with money affects us as well as the people that we're like spending money on,
Yeah.
and especially
Yeah,
being in
yeah.
a marriage, it's like now you both come together with like finances and it's not
Mhm,
like all
mhm.
about Sonia and not all about your husband. It's about making those choices together. So I love that you brought that.
Yes,
Great
yes, it's
point. Great
all
point.
relational, yeah.
Heck yeah. I'm like, speaking of relationship stuff, so I only got one question from a poll that I did on Instagram. So Solomon, I think it'll be awesome if you kick off what your thoughts are. So the question is, how do you deal with a partner that questions everything you say and contradicts your ideas?
Oh, that's interesting.
Mhm.
Typically, when that happens, it usually means that you guys don't have a lot of communication to begin with. Because I think if you have an understanding of who you are with each other, you'll know that if someone is contradicting something you're saying, it's usually because there's some context behind it that maybe you didn't think about or whatever. And it's typically going to be a constructive thing. But if you don't have that communication, then all you're seeing is, oh, every time I come up with an idea, you shoot it down. You know what I mean? So you're not really having that constant communication that will allow you to say, this is why he's saying that, and it makes sense. I trust his opinion or I trust her opinion
Right.
so that, they're not saying it to put me down or just to go against me. They're saying it because based on everything we know about each other and our strong communication, it's just not the right idea at the time.
Wow, I love that answer. Sonia, anything you'd like to add to that?
No, I think he's right
I
on.
know, it's like,
It's
yeah,
like
you covered it. You spot on. You nailed it.
it's the tough thing about this question. What you want to read it again?
Yeah, of course. How do you deal with a partner that questions everything you say and contradicts your ideas?
The
I'll
tough
leave it
part
here.
about this question is the everything because it's just everything.
Like everything you
Right?
do is
It's
like, why
just
are you doing this?
everything. It's just
Mhm.
everything. So it I would maybe like let's peel back the onion because it just can't be everything.
Right.
This person agreed to be your partner,
Right.
didn't contradict being your part. So the everything is too broad and usually there is like a sore subject of something, or it comes down to, well, it's the money.
Mhm.
Well, you want to have a quinceañera for our daughter, but it's the money.
Yeah.
Versus always contradicting everything. No, it's the money. But like you got to get down to what that root is.
Yep.
Because then you're just dancing around and then repeating this cycle or whatever, that same fight over and over.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
yeah.
And as you and Solomon mentioned, I feel like the root to that is having communication, because if you communicate like, okay, why are you contradicting what I'm saying? It then leads to that process of peeling back the onion and getting down to the root cause of why you were contradicted type of thing, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's one of the number one rules of constructive. I call it constructive arguing.
Mm-hmm.
Don't use words like never, always,
Mm-hmm.
everything, anything, because it's not true.
Right.
It's never true. You never wash the dishes. Well, yes,
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah,
I just
or
don't
you
wash it as
always
often
do
as
that,
you.
and it's like,
Exactly.
yeah.
And that's not
It's
true.
just
And
right.
so it just leads to another side argument of, why are you saying I never do it because I did it this other day? And then you get off point. So
Yeah.
just always start with, try to be as specific as possible with that stuff.
Yep, I love that. Freaking awesome. Now, our episode is coming almost to a close.
Wait, one thing.
Go ahead. Go
one
ahead.
thing. You guys have both been mentioning Chingona Community
Oh, yeah.
a lot. Can you explain to everybody what that is?
Who's going to take it first, Sonia? Me? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the Chingona Community is a nonprofit organization that focuses on women empowerment, primarily to Latinas, but is welcoming to all women. They focus on giving back to the community, engaging with the community through scholarship opportunities, providing events and activities for women like us that are women in leadership. And you don't even necessarily have to be a woman in leadership, but be a woman that's about other women and empowering. It's also networking. But aside from networking, it's more about community and having badass women that come from so many backgrounds. A lot of us from like the hood, not like the best lifestyle. And not that all of us are like that, but it shows like, hey, if she can do it, I can do it too. And we can empower the young Latinas that are surrounding us to learn how to love themselves, learn to coexist with other women. And my favorite thing about the Chingona community is you never feel like you're in competition with someone. Like you always are empowering everyone, and there's always different networking opportunities, just giving back to the community. And that's what the Chingona community is about. So
yes, that's my favorite line. It's community over competition.
Yes, there you go.
That is the line, and that's the one that drew me in really. But also men are allowed to sign up.
Yeah,
I
that's
do the
true.
memberships, and we've got a few guys. And your membership money helps to support all these causes that we're doing.
Yes, tell them how they can contact you. So I'm going to make sure to put all of Sonia's contact information in the description box below. But she is the person that you'll go through to purchase your yearly membership so that you can get those discounts on the events. And even though you're not a paying member, you are still welcome to show up to these events. There's free events. The perks are you get that more intimate setting with the Chingona community members, and then you get discounts on all the events, 50% off, I believe, right?
And we have a few swag bags left, so you get like this awesome hat, little bag, t-shirt.
Yep.
So yeah. I believe my email is soniastarcc@gmail.com.
Yep.
Triple check. Yeah. I
It is. I'm
created
like,
it
I
just for
remember
them.
it
It
coming
is,
in.
right?
Yeah,
Sonia
it
Star
is, it is.
CC.
But I'll make sure to
Chingona
put it down
Community.
there so that they can go
Yeah,
ahead
but
and reach
that's how
reach
we
you via
met.
Instagram, Facebook, and email. And yeah, that's exactly how I made this lovely connection with Sonia. We met at one of the Chingona community events. And then we started following each other on social media, getting to know each other more. And here we are today.
Yes.
Like,
I did your challenge.
Oh yeah, she joined.
I
my
also
21 Days
invited
Body Weight
other
Challenge.
women to do your
you
challenge.
did. I
know
saw.
how I tell you, I do it.
Yep, you're a billboard.
I-
Exactly. That's exactly what you said. I love it. So that is what the Chingona community is about. Anything you want to add about the Chingona community?
No, that's it. Oh my
Perfect.
gosh, that's really why we're here, why we met, and then
that's
now
true.
we just send out the love.
Exactly. Any questions about the Chingona community, Solomon?
Nope. Just going to say it's at chingonacommunity.com. I mean, I would ask the question of how the name came about, but I don't know.
It means badass.
Yeah, it means badass. So in the founder, she's such a badass. I'm like, I'm gonna go ahead and like plug in her.
We got to get her on here. What?
I know. You know what?
We
I
gotta
thought
get
about that
her
too.
on
All three of
here.
us would be fun. That'll be the first time I have like 3 people on.
Maybe I
That'll
could do
be
some
nice.
mixology in the corner.
Ooh, that's a good idea. You know what? Now that we're on that topic, okay, before we get there, so I'd like to end this with Solomon, Sonia Star, and myself giving you all some sort of tip in regards to relationship advice, relationship with yourself, partner, family, friends, coworkers, whatever that may be. Solomon, hit it.
Man, talk about being on the spot.
I know. Look at her.
Well,
Hey, I gave you some time. I was like,
yeah, for
prolong
me,
it.
it all comes down to communication. I mean, I think that's always the most important thing because, and that goes with your kids, with everything. You have like, for instance, parents who tell their kids, don't do this because I said so, and that is an immediate thing that breaks communication down. I always tell my daughter, I'll never tell you no unless I have a reason to tell you no. You
Mm.
know, and so that way, when I do tell them no, they understand because now they're learning in the process. So being able to constantly have that line of communication open, especially with your kids, that goes a long way. You never want to be a parent where, oh, I haven't talked to my son in this, or my daughter doesn't speak to me or anything like that. You want to have that open. And no matter what they do, you've got to be able to say, I'm here to talk no matter what it is. So there's my advice.
I love that. Thank you so much, Solomon.
On
Sonia
it.
Star, hit it.
You know what? What I want to wrap up with is a point that I wrote down, but we didn't mention.
Go ahead.
Sometimes when you're in a toxic relationship,
Ooh, yeah.
signs come out physically, and I'm not talking about that physical abuse, which some people do go through.
Because it could even be verbal.
Right.
Right.
Verbal, but I'm talking about your well-being, right?
Mhm.
Because that's your platform.
Right.
Your well-being of you're just not healthy because of the situation that you're in,
Yeah.
So watch for those signs. Those are all telltale signs. It's so important. Love yourself and love those around you, because if you're only going to receive what you give,
Yeah,
and you
that's
got to
true.
know it kind of comes around. So, I wish I could sum it up
No,
like that easy, but
you summed it up well, both of you.
You
I love
got to
it.
check yourself.
Check yourself
watch your
before you wreck
mind.
yourself, right?
Yes. But
I love it.
Much love to all, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And then before we turn it over to me, I would love for you to promote whatever it is you want to promote, your business. Let them know what you do. Got some clients coming your way and stuff like that. So feel free to share about your amazing mobile bar that I look forward to having someday at like my birthday party, a friend's birthday party, something like that.
Oh, yeah. No, it's just a love of service. I feel like happy people serve, unhappy people want to be served, kind of. That's very broad, but that is, I think there's truth in that. And so I do. I love to serve. I love to be social. I love to be out, with amongst people and having fun. And so, I share my love by making some awesome cocktails.
Mhm.
It was just inevitable that I do that. So, I'm like a bartender for hire, but I also train bartenders. My niece now has her mobile bar, Urubana bartending company. I helped her with the name.
Oh, nice.
She's awesome. But yeah, so that's it. I mean, that's.
Yeah,
I get it all through referrals. I'm not even, but I love it, and I just love what you're doing, Val. Keep it up, girl.
Thanks, girl. I appreciate it so much. And I know I'm definitely going to have you back on. And you're right. We didn't touch that topic of the toxic relationships. I'm like, we have to make that one for like another time and focus on like how one is in a toxic relationship, how it affects our overall well-being, when to leave, how to leave, and all of that good stuff. So thank you so much for bringing that up. Now, before we close, I want to give a big shout out to two of my friends here. Solomon, I've known for quite some time, and I absolutely appreciate him very much. He is a big component to this podcast. I love his energy. He's an awesome person. Thank you so much for being in my life as a friend and a producer to the podcast. I appreciate you.
My mic on. Happy to do it.
Thank you. Thank you. And then Sonia, I know we have this new connection. And I feel like we took our friendship to like a whole other level. You being here, me learning so much about you. So thank you so much for being here, girl. I know it was a little bit of a drive and having, to wake up early and stuff and sharing all of these heartfelt conversations, sharing, pieces of yourself. So I truly appreciate it. And I look forward to growing with you and building a further friendship. And I know I'm always going to see you because we're always at these Chingona Community events or, reaching out to each other via text or Instagram. So thank you so much for being here.
Ditto.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And my final advice for you all in regards to relationships also, I love you, all of my friends and family that are in my immediate circle that have supported me through a lot of my life challenges, my life wins, and all of that good stuff. People on social media helping the Fit Female Society succeed, and all of that good stuff. And in regards to relationships, make sure to focus on yourself, pour into yourself, do your best to surround yourself with people who love, support you, whether it's friends, families, coworkers, your life partner as well. And you can learn to be a better person, learn more about relationships by watching YouTube videos, watching the podcast, checking out the books that Sonia had mentioned. I'm going to go ahead and leave all of our contact information down below. So Solomon's, Sonia's, mine as well. If anyone is interested in any one on one transformational coaching, make sure to send me a message, send me an email. I hope that you enjoyed this podcast episode about building healthy relationships with yourself, your loved ones, peers, friends, all of that good stuff. And I'll see you in the next episode.